Coming up on today's episode of Airborne, ForeFlight expresses reservations about iOS8. Boeing is not thrilled with Al Jazeera's 787 expose, and NASA's Expedition 40 crew returns home. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. With much fanfare, Apple rolled out its new iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, as well as announcing the final release date of its new iOS 8 operating system. However, ForeFlight is asking its subscribers to wait a little while before hitting the update button. ForeFlight said they want their apps to work on new operating systems and devices the day they come out, but because developers and consumers get the new hardware at the same time, that can be a challenge. ForeFlight says they must stand in line just like everyone else to obtain the new devices in order to test their app on the new products. They plan to be starting this process by the middle of this week. The best advice for current iPhone and iPad ForeFlight subscribers is to hold off for a little while before updating to the new operating system. And then don't be surprised if there are a few problems. ForeFlight assures its users that they will work quickly with Apple to resolve any operating issues that come up. iOS 8 will be available for Apple devices starting September 17th. The proposed airing of a television program on Al Jazeera English focused on the development and production of the Boeing Dreamliner has led Boeing to issue a preemptive response. Boeing's statement says in part, quote, "Promotional trailer and published media reviews suggest that what has been produced by Al Jazeera English is as biased as a production as we have seen in some time. It's unfortunate that the producers of this television program appear to have fallen into the trap of distorting facts, relying on claims rejected by courts of law, breathlessly rehashing as news stories that have been covered exhaustively in the past, and relying on anonymous sources who appear intent on only harming the Boeing company." End quote. It appears that in the process of being cooperative, truthful, and open about the development and progress of the Dreamliner program, Boeing's reward was to be maligned by this Al Jazeera hatchet job. It's not been unusual to see inaccurate, uninformed, and often malicious coverage of general aviation by the media, and it looks like Boeing has joined the club. Makes you wonder if Al Jazeera is following the lead of USA Today. After these messages, the space station Expedition 40 crew returns to Earth. You're watching Airborne.
ADS-B will be mandatory for most aircraft by 2020 in the United States, but you can benefit from ADS-B today with the Bendix King KT-74 Mode S transponder. The KT-74 meets the global mandates for ADS-B out when attached to a suitable WAAS GPS. Finally, the extraordinary story of the world-changing X-Prize space competition is being told and illustrated with hundreds of insider photos in Jim Campbell's colorful new book, Beyond the Blue. Journey with Jim as he flies formation with spaceships, plays in zero gravity, prepares rocket racers, and documents the amazing first decade of the personal space race. Available this summer. Get your advance order in now by checking out www.kindredspirit.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to be a supporter of Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or our podcast, drop an email to jim@aero-news.net. 3 crew members from the International Space Station returned to Earth last week after 169 days of science and technology research in space, including a record 82 hours of research in a single week, which happened in July. During their time aboard the space station, returning Expedition 40 Commander Steve Swanson of NASA and 2 returning Russian flight engineers participated in a variety of research focusing on Earth remote sensing, human behavior and performance, and studies of bone and muscle physiology. One of several key research focus areas during Expedition 40 was human health management for long-duration space travel, as NASA and Roscosmos prepare for 2 crew members to spend 1 year aboard the orbiting laboratory in 2015. Having completed his 3rd space station mission, Swanson has now spent a total of 196 days in space. Each week, we share with you a sample of an online video one of our viewers found especially entertaining. We call it our Aero Video of the Week.
final liftoff of Atlanta.
Here's a promotion for a new television show titled The Skydiver. You may have never seen this program because the promo was made in 1961 and the show never aired. However, you've got to see it and then tell your Skydiver friends. Search The Skydiver Unreleased Pilot 1961 on YouTube. The NTSB adopted recommendations last week to educate pilots on the potential impairment risks in prescriptions and over-the-counter medications, as use of such medications grows in the U.S. NTSB also made 6 recommendations, 4 to the FAA and 2 to state governments, on how to widen educational efforts on impairment by such drugs, as well as risks regarding marijuana use. Doug McNair, EAA's Vice President of Government Relations, said in part, quote, "The study focused on general aviation pilots as a basis for considering the impact of medications on all transportation modes, because it's about the only data set available thanks to mandatory post-mortem toxicological screenings following fatal accidents. This initial step does not single out general aviation from other transportation modes," end quote. The researchers also mentioned that the findings do not cast any particular conclusion on those without medical certification, such as sport pilots who were involved in fatal accidents. Board member Robert Sumwalt asked how the study might affect the push for third-class medical certification reform, but researchers agreed that more information was needed to establish any connection. After the break, the FAA authorizes UAV use in a search and rescue effort. Stay tuned.
Since the early days of powered flight, pilots have struggled with landing in crosswinds. In fact, crosswinds and wind gusts cause more landing accidents than fog, thunderstorms, and icing combined. That's where the Redbird X-Wind SE comes in. By placing pilots in gusty crosswind conditions for extended periods of time, the X-Wind SE gives instructors all the time they need to teach the pilot the proper techniques for landing in crosswind conditions. For more information on Redbird X-Wind SE and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulation.com.
Welcome back. Here's an update on the story of Texas Equusearch and their use of a UAV for search and rescue work. ANN's been covering this story for the past few months. The FAA approved an emergency certificate of waiver or authorization, known as a COA, last week for the use of an unmanned aircraft system in the search for a missing woman in Dallas, Texas. In this case, the FAA granted the emergency COA in less than 24 hours. Under the emergency COA, Texas Equusearch was able to operate its aircraft for 5 days with FAA approval. NASA's Mars Curiosity rover has reached the red planet Mount Sharp, a Mount Rainier-sized mountain at the center of the vast Gale crater, and the rover mission's long-term prime destination. Curiosity reached its current location after its route was modified earlier this year in response to excessive wheel wear. In late 2013, the team realized a region of Martian terrain littered with sharp embedded rocks was poking holes in 4 of the rover's 6 wheels. The team altered the rover's route to a milder terrain, bringing the rover farther south toward the base of Mount Sharp. NASA's Mars Science Laboratory project continues to use Curiosity to assess ancient habitable environments and major changes in Martian environmental conditions. The destination on Mount Sharp offers a series of geological layers that recorded different chapters in the environmental evolution of Mars. Here's a new take on the effects of social media distraction. India's Air Marshal P.P. Reddy said that excessive use of social media may lead to a lack of sleep and degradation of the ability to focus, which could translate to errors in the cockpit. According to the Indian Air Force, there have been 4 recent incidents beginning in July 2012, which have involved pilots who've showed up to fly without adequate rest. An informal inquiry showed that they had been online until late into the night on social media sites such as Twitter and Facebook. Reddy stopped short of calling for a ban on social media, but he does point out that, quote, "We can ill afford to put expensive aircraft and lives at risk due to excessive indulgence in social networking media and other distractions," end quote. Well, that's our program. Remember to get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at Aero-News.net. Remember, Airborne is streamed 3 times a week and is always online. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a new edition. And be advised, some great upgrades are coming soon to Airborne. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.